We live in a world filled with classrooms, degrees, and textbooks. We are told to study, to memorize, to prepare. But here's the truth. They never teach you the stuff that truly matters in life. They never teach you how to face fear head on, how to bounce back when the world knocks you down, how to take charge of your destiny. They never teach you the principles of real success, the ones that make ordinary people extraordinary. Life's greatest lessons are not learned from a syllabus. They are learned in the fire of experience. They are learned when you fail, when you fall, when you get up again with determination burning in your chest. They are learned in the moments when everyone else is quitting and you refuse to let your story end in defeat. It's not taught in school, but it is earned through action. Let me tell you something powerful. Every skill, every level of mastery, every triumph starts with a choice. A choice to take responsibility for your life. A choice to stop blaming circumstances, stop waiting for permission, and start creating results that others only dream about. This is not something they hand you in a classroom. This is something you fight for. This is something you take with relentless energy, with obsession, with focus. Most people walk through life as if success and fulfillment are accidents. They wait for luck. They wait for guidance. They wait for someone to hand them the answers. But the truth is, it's not taught anywhere because it is unique to you. You have to discover it, claim it, and build it with your own hands. And every time you step into that arena of life, every time you push past the limits of what you thought possible, you are learning lessons no book could ever teach. And here's the kicker. The world rewards those who take massive action. The world doesn't reward ideas alone. It doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It rewards those who understand that discomfort is the teacher, that challenge is the trainer, and that setbacks are the fuel for greatness. So if you feel lost, if you feel underprepared, if you feel like no one ever showed you the way, good. That means you are in the perfect position to create something extraordinary. Because what is not taught can be learned. What is not handed to you can be earned. What is not expected of you can be accomplished by your courage, your energy, your commitment. Life doesn't hand out trophies for following the instructions. It hands out trophies for those who refuse to be average. It hands out opportunities to those who are willing to master what others ignore. It hands out rewards to those who are willing to say, I will not settle. I will not wait. I will forge my path, even if no one taught me how. And that, my friends, is the secret they don't teach. Not in school, not in a book, not in a seminar. It is in the living, in the striving, in the relentless pursuit of your own potential. The question is simple. Will you stay comfortable in what you've been taught, or will you step into the greatness that's waiting for you, unlearned by anyone but life itself? Life's most important lessons aren't in books. They're learned through experience. Think about it for a moment. From the moment we are born, we are immersed in a world full of instruction, full of guidance, full of someone telling us what we should and shouldn't do. We have schools, universities, mentors, courses, and self-help books, all promising to teach us the keys to success, to happiness, to fulfillment. And yet, after decades of learning, so many of us find ourselves unprepared for the very challenges that matter the most. Why? Because the lessons that truly shape us, the lessons that build character, resilience, and real-world mastery are never written down. They cannot be found on a syllabus. They cannot be memorized for a test. They are not handed to us neatly packaged, ready to consume with a highlighter in hand. The most vital lessons are learned through living, through doing, through stepping into the fire of life and discovering what it takes to survive, thrive, and rise. Think about the people you admire most in the world. Think about those who achieved greatness, those who broke barriers, those who transformed their lives against impossible odds. Do you think they learned the principles of courage, perseverance, and resilience in a classroom? No. They learned them by facing their fears head on, by taking risks that no teacher would recommend, by making mistakes so big that they thought their lives would never recover. They learn through experience because experience has a way of teaching lessons that theory never can. It has a way of drilling truth into the very core of your being. You don't truly understand the value of persistence until you've been knocked down multiple times and still found the strength to get up. You don't truly understand the meaning of courage until you step into situations that terrify you and act anyway. You don't truly understand the power of belief until every voice around you says you're wrong, and you refuse to accept their limits as your own. Experience teaches lessons in a language that books cannot translate. You can read every page ever written on leadership, but until you stand before a team that looks to you for direction in a crisis, you don't know what it means to lead. You can read every article on negotiation, but until you face a person who holds the power to change your life and you find the words, the strategy, and the courage to influence them, you haven't truly learned it. You can memorize every motivational quote ever written, but until you face rejection, heartbreak, or failure, and you rise again, those words remain just words. They don't become a part of your essence. Experience converts knowledge into wisdom, and wisdom into transformation. And here's the critical insight: the lessons that matter most are often uncomfortable. They are rarely convenient. They do not fit neatly into a schedule or a syllabus. They arrive in moments that demand more from you than you ever imagined you had. Life's most important lessons come wrapped in pain, frustration, uncertainty, and risk. They come when your plans crumble, when your relationships are tested, when your career or health or reputation is on the line. These are the situations where growth is unavoidable if you survive them with awareness, reflection, and courage. You can't outsource this learning. You can't read a guidebook on how to endure loss or how to push through fear. You have to live it. You have to feel it. You have to navigate it, stumble through it, and ultimately emerge on the other side stronger, wiser, and more capable than you were before. Consider the process of mastery. Every skill, every ability, every achievement that has lasting impact is forged in the crucible of experience. You learn the nuances of human interaction not by memorizing phrases from a psychology textbook, but by engaging with people, observing their reactions, adapting your approach, and discovering what truly resonates. You learn the art of leadership not by studying theories of management, but by making decisions that affect real lives and facing the consequences, both good and bad. You learn the essence of resilience not by reading about it, but by enduring the setbacks, the betrayals, the moments when everything seems lost, and refusing to surrender. Experience forces you to confront reality in its rawest, most unfiltered form, and in doing so, it imparts lessons that cannot be diluted, cannot be misinterpreted, and cannot be forgotten. Another truth is that experience teaches at its own pace, in its own timing, and often in repetition. Life will challenge you in cycles until you internalize the lesson fully. You might fail once, twice, 3 times at the same challenge, and each failure carries a piece of insight. Each setback is a classroom in itself, and if you pay attention, if you reflect, if you analyze your actions and their outcomes, you begin to assemble a knowledge base that is deeply personal, highly practical, and impossible to ignore. This kind of learning builds intuition, judgment, and confidence. It builds the kind of internal compass that no external authority can provide. It is the difference between knowing the words of wisdom and living the wisdom itself. And this is why so many people feel unprepared for life despite years of education and training. They have studied, they have memorized, they have been graded. And yet, when confronted with the real challenges, the sudden loss, the unexpected obstacle, the moment that demands total courage, they find themselves scrambling. They feel the gap between knowledge and wisdom. They feel the gap between theory and application. They feel the gap between what was taught and what life actually requires. The reason is simple. Life's most important lessons are not taught in advance. They are discovered through the act of living, through engagement, through action, and through relentless reflection. It is also why some people rise above any circumstances. They may lack formal training, they may lack mentorship, they may lack conventional resources, but they immerse themselves in the experiences that matter. They take risks, they face failure, they confront their fears, and they absorb lessons that no book could ever contain. They understand that experience is the ultimate teacher and that every moment, every challenge, every encounter is an opportunity to learn. They treat life as their classroom and every decision as a lesson plan. They understand that the tests they face are not designed to break them. They are designed to teach them, to sculpt them, to prepare them for the next level of contribution and achievement. And here's the final powerful insight about this principle: the lessons you learn through experience stick with you for a lifetime. They shape your mindset, your behavior, and your identity in ways that abstract knowledge cannot. They teach you empathy, resilience, creativity, courage, and self-mastery because they are forged through practice, through struggle, through direct engagement with reality. They become part of who you are, not just what you know. And when you embrace this, when you truly accept that life's most important lessons are discovered, not taught, you unlock a new perspective, a new power, a new freedom. You stop waiting for someone to hand you the answers, and you start living in a way that transforms every experience into opportunity, every obstacle into insight, and every challenge into growth. Success comes from taking responsibility, not waiting for permission or luck. This is one of those truths that sounds simple, but it is radically transformative when applied. Most people live their lives as if they are passengers on a bus, as if the direction of their journey is determined by others, by circumstances, by luck, by timing. They wait for approval, for validation, for the perfect moment, for someone else to hand them the roadmap. And while they wait, life moves on, opportunities pass, and potential goes untapped. Success does not wait for permission. Success does not negotiate with procrastination. Success rewards those who take ownership of their choices, their actions, and their results. This is the fundamental principle that separates those who achieve extraordinary outcomes from those who drift through life wondering why things haven't worked out. Taking responsibility begins with the understanding that you are in control of more than you think. Yes, life throws curveballs. Yes, circumstances can be difficult. Yes, people can disappoint you. But here's the power of responsibility. It shifts the focus from blame to action. When you stop pointing fingers at external forces, when you stop waiting for someone else to make things happen, you reclaim the power that is inherently yours. Responsibility is not about punishment. It is about freedom. The moment you accept responsibility for your life, you recognize that your decisions, your effort, your focus, and your mindset determine the trajectory of your future. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a creator of destiny. Think about the way the world teaches us to live. From a young age, many of us are conditioned to follow instructions, to obey rules, to seek guidance, and to defer to authority. There is nothing wrong with guidance, but the danger is in over-reliance. If you are constantly waiting for someone else to approve your actions or give you permission, you are giving away the very power that can change your life. The people who achieve remarkable success are the ones who act without waiting. They take initiative. They create momentum. They see obstacles and say, I will figure this out, instead of someone else needs to solve this for me. They understand that success is not delivered. It is seized. Taking responsibility also means taking ownership of your emotions, your habits, and your mindset. Too often, people blame their feelings, their past, or their environment for what they do or do not accomplish. They say things like, I can't succeed because I had a bad childhood, or I'm unlucky, or I'm not talented enough. And while circumstances may influence you, they do not define you. What defines you is how you respond. When you take responsibility for your emotions, you stop letting fear, doubt, or negativity dictate your actions. You develop the ability to make deliberate choices, to act with clarity, to focus on what you can control, and to move forward even when conditions are imperfect. Responsibility turns obstacles into challenges, challenges into opportunities, and opportunities into breakthroughs. The next level of taking responsibility is understanding that every outcome in your life is the result of your actions, decisions, and patterns. Success is not something that randomly happens. It is the natural consequence of consistent, purposeful action. If your results are not what you desire, the question is not, why is life unfair? The question is, what am I not doing? What am I not seeing? What can I change? This shift in perspective is profound because it places the power in your hands. It eliminates excuses and accelerates growth. It forces you to confront reality and take deliberate steps to create the life you want. Those who achieve mastery in their field, those who break barriers, those who create extraordinary impact, all operate from this mindset of total ownership. Responsibility also extends to your relationships and your influence on others. If you want to lead, inspire, or make a difference, you cannot wait for others to act first. You cannot complain about what isn't happening in your team, your family, or your community. Leadership begins with responsibility. Leadership begins with the willingness to do what needs to be done even when it is hard. Even when others are hesitant, even when no one else notices. Responsibility in action creates trust, credibility, and momentum. People follow those who step up, those who act decisively, those who refuse to let excuses dictate outcomes. One of the most liberating aspects of taking responsibility is that it dissolves fear. Fear thrives on helplessness, on the belief that you are powerless. But when you accept that your choices and actions determine your results, fear loses its grip. You no longer wait for luck, timing, or external validation. You act, you move, you learn, you adjust, you persist. You embrace challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to grow, to test your limits, and to prove to yourself what is possible. Responsibility transforms fear into fuel, hesitation into momentum, and doubt into determination. It is also critical to understand that taking responsibility does not mean doing everything perfectly or carrying every burden alone. It means being accountable for what you can influence and taking the initiative to act where action is required. It means learning, growing, and iterating constantly. It means acknowledging mistakes, correcting them, and using every experience as a lesson. People who avoid responsibility often fall into patterns of blame, denial, and stagnation. They remain trapped in cycles of unfulfilled potential because they have given their power to circumstances instead of claiming it for themselves. Success is never found in waiting. It is found in acting, in owning, and in being relentless about progress. Furthermore, taking responsibility creates resilience. Life will test you. Life will challenge you. Life will push you to limits you did not know existed. But the people who thrive are those who have cultivated a mindset of ownership. When failure occurs, they analyze, learn, and move forward. When setbacks arrive, they adapt and persist. When opportunities appear, they act decisively. Responsibility becomes a superpower because it transforms every situation into a chance to strengthen skill, character, and determination. It allows you to extract lessons from adversity, turning what could be defeat into undeniable growth. Finally, let's recognize that the habit of taking responsibility compounds over time. Every decision, every action, every choice builds momentum. When you accept that your life is in your hands, that you are responsible for what you create, you begin to move faster, think clear, and act with confidence. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. You stop hoping for someone else to guide you. You stop blaming what is outside your control. And in this place of full ownership, extraordinary results become inevitable because you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are the driver of your destiny, the architect of your future, and the force that shapes what is possible. Failure and discomfort are your greatest teachers, not setbacks to avoid. Most people spend their lives running from discomfort, avoiding failure, and clinging to what is safe and predictable. They design their lives around minimizing pain instead of maximizing growth. And yet, it is in the moments of struggle, in the moments of challenge, and in the moments of apparent defeat that life delivers its most valuable lessons. If you truly want to grow, if you truly want to create impact, if you truly want to rise to levels others only dream of, you must embrace failure and discomfort as allies, as mentors, as catalysts for transformation. The reality is that no success story ever skips over the pain. No achievement is ever built in complete comfort. Those who succeed understand that discomfort is not a warning to stop. It is a signal that they are on the path that matters. Let's be honest. Discomfort is universal. Life is not designed to be easy. Challenges, obstacles, setbacks, and uncertainty are part of the human experience. Yet, most people react to these realities with resistance. They shrink away, they make excuses, they procrastinate, they blame external forces, and they convince themselves that their current comfort zone is acceptable. But comfort zones are traps. They are illusions of security. Growth, fulfillment, and mastery live outside of comfort. You cannot learn courage without being afraid. You cannot develop resilience without encountering hardship. You cannot understand the depth of your potential without stepping into the unknown. Failure and discomfort are the natural instruments that life uses to stretch you, to sharpen you, and to prepare you for what is possible. Consider the way you've learned your own lessons in life. Think about moments when things went wrong, relationships that failed, projects that collapsed, opportunities that slipped away, personal goals that were missed. Those moments were painful. They hurt, and yet, if you examine them closely, they were also moments of enormous insight. They forced you to question your assumptions, to identify what was missing, to adjust your strategy, to see yourself more clearly. Painful experiences act as mirrors reflecting your strengths, weaknesses, and blind spots. They reveal what is real, what works, and what needs to change. Avoiding these lessons may feel safe, but it guarantees stagnation. Embracing them ensures evolution. The most successful people do not succeed because they avoid failure. They succeed because they understand its purpose. Failure is feedback. Failure is data. Failure is the ultimate teacher that will show you what needs to be improved, what needs to be strengthened, and what needs to be released. Every mistake, every setback, every discomforting moment carries a lesson that is more valuable than any classroom instruction or motivational speech. But the key is to stop seeing these moments as signs of inadequacy and start seeing them as opportunities for mastery. The question is not, why did this happen to me? The question is, what can I learn? How can I adapt? And what action can I take now to move forward stronger? Discomfort in particular is a signal that growth is occurring. When you feel uneasy, uncertain, or challenged, your body and mind are signaling that you are entering a zone that matters. It is the edge of possibility. It is the frontier where transformation happens. Comfort will never push you to greatness. Comfort will never reveal your resilience. Comfort will never test the limits of your courage. Growth requires you to lean into the discomfort, to endure the tension, to persist when it would be easier to quit. Every high achiever understands this implicitly. They have learned to welcome challenges, to treat adversity as a teacher, and to let discomfort guide them toward higher performance. Another crucial aspect of this principle is understanding the difference between pain that teaches and pain that destroys. There is constructive discomfort and destructive avoidance. Constructive discomfort pushes you, stretches you, and forces adaptation. Destructive avoidance shrinks you, numbs you, and keeps you trapped. The lesson is to embrace the type of pain that propels you forward and to recognize that every challenge, no matter how difficult, carries a kernel of insight that can transform your life. The people who thrive are not those who have the easiest lives. They are those who turn difficulty into strategy, adversity into advantage, and struggle into mastery. When failure and discomfort become your teachers, you also develop resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover, to adapt, and to persist in the face of challenges. It is not something you are born with. It is something forged through experience. Each moment of failure, each instance of discomfort is an opportunity to practice resilience. Each time you push through a fear, each time you persist, when it would be easier to quit, you strengthen your capacity to handle greater challenges in the future. Life becomes less intimidating, not because challenges disappear, but because you have trained yourself to face them and navigate them with confidence and clarity. Discomfort also teaches humility. It reminds you that you do not have all the answers, that control is an illusion, and that growth requires openness, curiosity, and willingness to learn. People who avoid discomfort often remain arrogant, rigid, and unaware of their limitations. Those who embrace it become wiser, more adaptable, and more capable of understanding themselves and others. They recognize that mastery is not about being perfect. It is about learning, adjusting, and persisting through the inevitable challenges. Furthermore, failure and discomfort cultivate creativity and problem-solving skills. When things are easy, the mind is not challenged. When life is predictable, the solutions are obvious. But when you are pushed to the edge, when your back is against the wall, when the stakes are high, you are forced to think differently, to innovate, and to act with resourcefulness. Discomfort stretches your imagination, expands your perspective, and forces you to explore possibilities that comfort would never reveal. The lessons you gain in these moments are lessons that cannot be taught in a lecture hall or read in a book. They must be experienced. Finally, embracing failure and discomfort creates a mindset of fearlessness. When you stop avoiding setbacks, when you stop fearing challenges, you cultivate the courage to pursue goals that others deem impossible. You develop the capacity to act decisively in uncertainty. You begin to see that risk is not something to avoid, but a necessary ingredient for growth and success. Every discomforting moment becomes a stepping stone, every failure becomes a lesson, and every challenge becomes an opportunity to expand what is possible. Those who succeed understand that fear is temporary, but the lessons gained through facing it last a lifetime. Action, not ideas or potential, is what creates extraordinary results. This is a truth that so many people fail to fully grasp. We live in a culture obsessed with knowledge, ideas, inspiration, and potential. People spend years collecting information, reading books, attending seminars, listening to advice, and daydreaming about what they could achieve. They visualize success, they set goals, they plan, they strategize. And yet, despite all the preparation, nothing changes unless action is taken. Action is the bridge between thought and reality. Action is the engine that transforms dreams into results. Without action, ideas are merely fantasies, potential remains dormant, and ambition is wasted energy. Think about the difference between a person who talks about success and a person who achieves it. The difference is not intellect. The difference is not talent. The difference is action. The achiever moves. They take the steps even when unsure, even when afraid, even when the path is unclear. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They do not wait for a complete plan. They start. They act. They iterate. And through action, they learn what works, what doesn't, and how to adapt. Ideas are powerless without execution. Potential is meaningless without application. Action is the only thing that converts vision into reality. Every successful person has faced doubt, fear, and uncertainty. Every one of them has encountered moments when inaction would have been easier, safer, and more comfortable. And yet, they chose to act. They understood that waiting for clarity, waiting for inspiration, waiting for conditions to be perfect is a recipe for stagnation. They understood that mastery is not born from planning alone, but from engagement, experimentation, and relentless effort. Action is what separates those who achieve extraordinary outcomes from those who merely dream about them. It is the difference between wishing and winning, between imagining and implementing, between potential and performance. Let's consider the nature of action itself. Action is not always glamorous. It is not always easy. It often involves discomfort, risk, and vulnerability. It means putting yourself on the line, confronting uncertainty, and being willing to fail in order to succeed. But the beauty of action is that it produces momentum. Momentum creates clarity. Momentum builds confidence. Once you take a step, the next step becomes easier, and the next one after that compounds your progress. Action is the feedback loop of life. Without it, you remain stuck in the realm of ideas and possibility, never stepping into the arena where results are achieved. Potential, in particular, is often misunderstood. People talk about potential as if it guarantees future success, but potential alone does nothing. A talented musician who never picks up an instrument will never perform. A brilliant entrepreneur with groundbreaking ideas who never launches a business will never succeed. A gifted speaker who never speaks in front of an audience will never inspire. Potential is only realized when paired with action. Action activates ability. Action transforms latent talent into measurable, tangible outcomes. Without it, potential is wasted. A resource that could have been extraordinary but remained invisible, unused, and unrealized. Ideas, similarly, are only seeds. They contain promise, but they require cultivation through action. An idea without action is like a seed buried in the ground that is never watered. It has the capability to grow into something magnificent, but without engagement, without effort, without implementation, it remains inert, unseen, and unproductive. The world does not reward ideas alone. The world rewards execution, persistence, and consistent effort. Every innovation, every breakthrough, every achievement in history was once just an idea until someone had the courage and discipline to act on it. One of the most powerful aspects of action is its ability to teach. When you act, you learn. You gain feedback. You discover limitations and opportunities. You refine your approach, adjust your strategy, and improve your execution. Action generates experience, and experience generates mastery. Waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for more information, waiting for certainty only delays learning. Action accelerates growth because it forces engagement with reality. It is through doing that you acquire knowledge that cannot be learned passively. You internalize lessons, develop skill, and build confidence that can only come from direct experience. Action also cultivates courage and resilience. The first step is always the hardest. The first attempt always carries the risk of failure, judgment, or criticism. But each action taken in the face of fear strengthens your capacity to act again. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of fear through deliberate action. Every time you choose to move forward despite uncertainty, you grow stronger, bolder, and more capable. Momentum multiplies this effect. The more you act, the easier it becomes to continue acting. Your confidence grows, your vision clarifies, and your results compound. Action is not a one-time event. It is a habit that shapes character, builds discipline, and transforms potential into performance. Another critical truth about action is that it creates opportunity. Opportunities rarely present themselves fully formed. They emerge through engagement, through effort, through stepping into the world and making things happen. Action attracts opportunity because it demonstrates initiative, capability, and determination. Those who act consistently create the conditions for success. They position themselves to be noticed, to be heard, and to be considered for possibilities that never appear to the passive observer. Opportunity favors the active, the engaged, and the relentless. Action turns chance encounters into strategic advantages, challenges into solutions, and ideas into accomplishments. It is also important to recognize the power of imperfect action. Many people delay because they want to do things perfectly, to have all the answers, to eliminate every risk. This is an illusion. Perfection is unattainable, and waiting for it guarantees inaction. Progress requires action, even when it is messy, even when it is incomplete, even when it is uncomfortable. The act of doing, of moving, of engaging with reality is what generates learning, adaptation, and ultimately success. Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. It is the spark that ignites momentum, the catalyst that transforms intention into results, and the engine that drives personal evolution. Finally, action creates self-belief. Every accomplishment, no matter how small, is evidence that you are capable. Each time you follow through, each time you take a step, despite fear or uncertainty, you build a track record of achievement. This track record becomes a source of confidence, a foundation for bigger goals, and proof that your potential is not theoretical, it is real. Action transforms abstract possibility into concrete reality, proving to yourself that you are capable, competent, and deserving of success. What is not taught can be learned, earned, and mastered through courage and commitment. This is one of the most liberating realizations you can have because it means that no matter what you feel unprepared for, no matter what you were never shown, no matter what life never explained to you, you are not limited. You are not bound by the gaps in education, the holes in guidance, or the oversights of those who came before you. Life does not give out instruction manuals for the most important skills: resilience, emotional intelligence, courage, leadership, financial literacy, relationship mastery. But these are the very skills that shape the trajectory of your life. The most powerful truth is that these skills can be learned, they can be earned through deliberate effort, and they can be mastered through commitment to growth, practice, and relentless action. Consider how much of life operates on unspoken rules. Society teaches you to read and write, to calculate and memorize, but it rarely teaches you how to negotiate a conflict, how to navigate fear, how to create opportunities, how to recover from failure. It rarely teaches you how to lead yourself before leading others, how to control your mind before controlling circumstances, how to transform pain into power. And yet these skills are what determine your level of success, your impact, and your fulfillment. If you feel unprepared in these areas, It is not because you are incapable. It is because you have not been taught. But teaching is not the only path to mastery. Learning through experience, through deliberate practice, and through committed engagement allows you to acquire what was never handed to you. The first step in mastering what is not taught is recognizing your responsibility to yourself. If you wait for someone else to show you the way, to give you permission, or to hand you the knowledge you need, you will wait forever. Real empowerment begins when you acknowledge that your life is your responsibility and that the knowledge and skills you need can be obtained through your own effort. Courage is required because the path is not always obvious. Commitment is required because progress demands consistency. Action is required because understanding alone will never transform your life. Every skill, every level of competence, every element of mastery begins with the decision to step into the arena and take charge of your own growth. Learning what is not taught requires deliberate practice. This means identifying the areas where you feel unprepared, breaking them into manageable components, and systematically working to improve. It means seeking mentors where possible, but also creating your own feedback loops through trial, error, and reflection. If you want to master emotional intelligence, for example, you must observe yourself and others, experiment with communication, and reflect on the results. If you want to master leadership, you must take responsibility for projects, teams, and outcomes, adjusting your approach until it produces consistent results. If you want to master resilience, you must face discomfort, embrace challenges, and persist through difficulty until endurance and mental toughness become second nature. The beauty of this approach is that it does not rely on formal education. It relies on courage, commitment, and intelligent action. Earning mastery also requires patience. What is not taught rarely produces instant results. The skills that shape lives, the ability to manage emotions, to create value, to lead with impact, to innovate, to persevere, develop over time. It is in repeated effort, in reflection after failure, and in persistence in the face of doubt that true mastery emerges. The world often undervalues patience, preferring instant gratification and quick wins. But those who understand that what is not taught requires practice and perseverance are the ones who create extraordinary results. They understand that progress is not always visible day by day, but it compounds over weeks, months, and years, building capabilities that set them apart from the average. Commitment is the engine that turns learning into mastery. Many people start the journey of self-development or skill acquisition with enthusiasm, but abandon it at the first sign of difficulty. They quit when progress is slow, when results are uncertain, or when discomfort is high. Commitment is the ability to persist regardless of circumstance. Commitment is the unwavering decision to continue learning, growing, and improving, even when no one else is watching, even when recognition is delayed, and even when the lessons are hard-earned. Those who commit transform gaps in knowledge into strengths, weaknesses into competencies, and potential into undeniable achievement. Another essential aspect is the mindset of ownership and experimentation. When you accept that life has not taught you everything, you also recognize that you are free to explore, to innovate, and to test what works for you. You are no longer bound by traditional expectations or conventional wisdom. You can experiment with approaches, adjust based on results, and create a personalized path to mastery. This is how extraordinary people excel in areas where most others feel lost or unprepared. They leverage curiosity, observation, and persistence to uncover methods, strategies, and insights that are not available in formal instruction. What is not taught becomes an advantage when approached with creativity, courage, and commitment. Experience is one of the most powerful teachers for skills that are not formally taught. You learn negotiation by negotiating, leadership by leading, resilience by enduring, courage by confronting fear, and influence by practicing persuasion. Each experience provides feedback, insight, and the raw material for growth. The key is to engage fully, reflect honestly, and apply what you learn consistently. Passive observation will not suffice. Knowledge without action is meaningless. To master what is not taught, you must be willing to step into situations where mistakes are inevitable and lessons are unavoidable, embracing the discomfort as a necessary part of growth. Mastery also requires integration. It is not enough to learn isolated skills. The challenge is to weave them into the fabric of your life. Emotional intelligence, courage, resilience, focus, discipline, and strategic thinking must be combined to produce consistent results. This integration happens through repeated application in diverse situations. Every challenge you encounter, every interaction, every setback is an opportunity to test, refine, and strengthen your capabilities. What is not taught becomes second nature when practiced with intention, reflection, and persistence over time. Finally, mastering what is not taught transforms identity. The process of learning, earning, and committing to skills that were never handed to you changes how you see yourself and your possibilities. You shift from being someone who waits for guidance to someone who creates solutions. You move from uncertainty to confidence. You transform potential into proven ability. You no longer feel limited by what you were never taught because you have developed the capacity to learn, adapt, and excel on your own. This transformation is the foundation of self-mastery, personal empowerment, and extraordinary achievement.